of evaluators, my co-researchers, students, a pleasant afternoon. Our study is entitled Development of Valid and Reliable Teacher-Made Tests for Grade 10 Mathematics. Yours truly, Denis A, and I have here with me are my co-researchers, Ms. Shirley C. Corduva, Mr. Ayan Paul B. Saligumba, and Mr. Lester Lupi Sigumpan. This is actually a CMU-funded research in 6 months, from March to August 2018. Teachers are actually confronted with a lot of tasks. Not only high school mathematics teachers, but as well as college professors and instructors. These tasks include lesson planning and preparation, assessment of student learning. Just like this one, we are also required to have research and extension activities, present and defend them in an annual in-house review. And of course, high school teachers also meet parents during conferences. One of these tasks that is very taxing is, of course, the assessment of learning of students. In assessing student learning, teacher actually made exams, midterm examinations, final examinations, quizzes, long exams, and even 1-hour exams to ensure that they can measure students' learning. But the question is, are these measuring tools or tests are able to measure really the accomplishment or the achievement of the students? In other words, are these tests valid and reliable such that a teacher could say in front of the parents that, yes, ma'am, the grade of your students indeed is his or her competencies in my class? And so, this investigation. So, during the conduct of the study, actually we underwent process. First is, of course, TOS making and item construction. This is the very difficult part. In the TOS making, competencies are identified based on the lessons that were being discussed by the teachers in one grading period. And then test items are constructed based on the table of specification. As we all know, educators, we know that table of specification is actually the blueprint of tests. Just like engineers, before they construct a building, they made blueprint. The second process is, of course, the TOS and the test items are checked and reviewed. In our case, the tests were reviewed by the division coordinator as well as the secretary and the school principal to ensure that indeed the TOS is aligned with our syllabus and at the same time it is aligned with a different curriculum guide. And after that, we check if the test items being identified in specific Bloom's cognitive taxonomy are indeed fitting. When the teacher said it's actually remembering, is it indeed remembering in the tests? If the teacher put an item as evaluating, is it really evaluating? And so forth. And after checking and reviewing, TOS and the test items are actually revised. Then after that, here comes the periodical examinations in which students took the tests. After that, answers are checked, item analysis is executed, and we identify actually the difficulty and discrimination indices of each item in the tests. Not only that, this structure analysis was also made because every item, every options are also examined in such a way that we know if it's possible or not. Possibility means, do the options being written by the teachers actually attract the non-performing students? And so on. And of course, after establishing the reliability index of the tests, there is revision of the TOS and the test items such that the items to be rejected are rejected, the items to be revised are being revised, and those items to be retained are retained, ready as part of items in our test bank. And therefore, now we have valid and reliable tests being developed. Actually, I did not present the objective because the way I present the results is based on how the objectives are also arranged in the paper. So the table 1A is a table of specification for the first grading examination in Math 10 for previous years, school year 2017-2018. So if you noticed, there are actually 60 items of the tests, which has 5 levels of cognitive domain of the Bloom's taxonomy, from remembering to evaluating, and items were being distributed evenly such that those topics or competencies which are taught in higher hours or more than 1 hour has also more items in the test. This is actually to ensure that your test is a valid test because it actually measures only the items that are being discussed during the class. So according to Husna and others, they believe that cognitive competence plays an important role in enhancing mathematical literacy in the teaching and learning mathematics in the secondary schools. Therefore, the quality of test items requires to be aligned with the Bloom's cognitive taxonomy. Also, if you notice, there are more items in the higher order thinking skills, applying, analyzing, and evaluating in our test. So with our TOS in the second grading period. Actually, the reviewing is made with this TOS, with the syllabus, and of course with the DepEd curriculum guide. And we found out that actually this is coherent with the standards. Next is figure 2A displays the distribution of the mean difficulty index level of grade 10 mathematics for the second grading period. And if you notice, if you look at the table, there are no too difficult items. There are two easy items. Majority of the items are of average level of difficulty. There are actually 56 of them. 4 are difficult and 8 are actually easy. And according to Alonji 2003, he said that the higher discrimination index, or the higher, according to Adilwowi and Luton in 2000, they said that difficulty index would describe the percentage of students who actually get the correct answer. So the higher the difficulty index means the easier the item. The lower the difficulty index would mean the more difficult is the item. And looking at the figure on discriminatory level, notice that there are actually 7 poor items. There are 3 very good items, 30 very good items. What happened to my PowerPoint presentation? 6 reasonably good items and 9 marginally good items. And of course, items with higher discrimination index would indicate that students who possess the traits that is being measured by the test actually answer the test correctly. In other words, the items with higher discrimination index are able to identify students who are good performing, who are studying, and those students who are just guessing. So that's the power of discrimination index. And here in this table, figure 1C, it shows actually the different items that are too difficult, too easy in terms of difficulty index, and so on. And in terms of discrimination index, poor to very good items, in red indicates that those items should be rejected because they are too difficult, too easy, and they are poor item. It means that those items have very low discrimination indices. And for those items which are from difficult, average, and easy items in terms of difficulty indices and discrimination index of marginal, reasonably good, good, and very good are actually items to be revised. These are items which are actually with distractors that do not function as distractors. Say for example, because this is a multiple choice test and the options are from A to D, if one item do not function as a distractor, then it should be revised. For items from average level of difficulty, and which are reasonably good item, and very good item, these are the items that to be retained because these are actually items that could measure students' actual competencies, and at the same time, they can discriminate or identify good performing students from poor performing students. This is also the discrimination index of the second grading test. There are actually two tests that we develop, first grading and the second grading. And so the explanation is still the same. And notice that the KR20 for our first grading period is 0.82 and for the second grading period is 0.85, which means that it is very reliable, meaning it is consistent. Wherever, whoever, whatever, the exam, whoever took the exam, whenever the exam is taken, the test will indeed give you the same result. That is consistency. Therefore, we actually concluded that the test measured the competencies developed by the students while learning all the competencies that is set by the students based on the curriculum guide from the ed and the course syllabus that are actually submitted by the teacher. And of course, the tests are of average difficulty with good and reasonable items. Items are neither too easy nor too difficult for the students, and this can distinguish high-performing students from low-performing students. The first grading test has 38 items which are retained, 14 items are revised, and 8 items are rejected. The revised test with good items contains 52 items with difficulty level ranging from easy to difficult items. On the other hand, the second grading test has 47 items which are retained, 14 items are revised, and 9 items are rejected. This leaves a 61-item test with average level of difficulty and high discrimination index. Indeed, the teacher-made tests are valid and reliable with 52 good items for the first grading and 61 reasonably good items for the second grading period. And therefore, we recommend that teachers are encouraged to develop their formative and summative tests based on the topics intended for the sessions. Term or periodic examinations will be made with 2OS as it's the blueprint to ensure content validity of the test. And we also put forward a lot of recommendations, but I guess my time left is only 2 minutes. So I just would like to acknowledge those persons who are actually behind our CMU-funded research, to the University President, Dr. Sullivan, to our Vice President for Research, Development, and Extension, Dr. Luz Biminda Tisiborio, our Director of Research, Dr. Angela Grace Bruno, our Research Coordinator, Professor Elrich Ray J. Magday, the Dean of the College of Education, Dr. Raul C. Urungan for the research grant, also our high school students, the teachers, and everyone who participated in the conduct of this study. Thank you very much for listening and have a pleasant day to all.
At this point, we will